I'm not an Aussie, but I know a thing or two about the land down under. Let me tell you the good, the bad, and the downright fabulous of LGBTQ plus life in Australia. From packing my bags to arriving in the fabulous land of kangaroos and koalas, it's been a whirlwind. Australia wasn't all sunshine and rainbows when I arrived, but guess what? The Aussie sun kissed me on the cheek and I said, "G'day, mate." Australia, where even the kangaroos know how to sashay away, hasn't always been a glitter-filled paradise for the LGBTQ plus community. But fear not, because we're going to spill the secrets. Back in the day, our fabulous journey wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Can you believe that, in the not-so-distant past, being gay was considered a crime? A crime! Even Elton John's feather boa couldn't distract us from the tea on that one. The legacy of British colonial rule meant that being gay was considered a crime, with harsh penalties including imprisonment and, in some cases, the death penalty. The culture of the time was one of discrimination and persecution against the LGBTQ plus community, with widespread harassment and injustice. It wasn't until the late 20th century that finally things changed. Now let's rewind to 1957, a time when rock and roll was shaking the world, but Australia had its own little dance with darkness. In the small town of Cooma in New South Wales, the Cooma prison was not just any correctional facility, it was the world's only known jail for gay men. Men found guilty of homosexual offenses were sent to this isolated institution as part of a covert government experiment to develop so-called cures for homosexuality. Yes, you heard me right, a human testing ground to eradicate homosexuality. It's all covered in the investigative podcast, The Greatest Menace by Patrick Aboud and Simon Kunick. Check out this queer true crime series for a real shocker. By the way, homosexuality wasn't decriminalized in New South Wales until 1984. That's like 2 decades after the moonwalk became a thing. But let's go to South Australia. They were the first Australian state to decriminalize homosexuality in 1975. But a tragedy had to strike down under for this to happen. George Duncan, an Aussie gay lecturer at the University of Adelaide, was murdered and became a catalyst for the push for law reform. Duncan's murder is an unsolved crime, but it seems he was allegedly thrown into the River Torrens. Suspicion was quickly raised about police involvement in the incident, and 2 Vice Squad members were tried and eventually acquitted of Dr. Duncan's manslaughter. The public outrage was huge and became the trigger for a homosexual law reform. To the fearless warriors of the gay movement in Adelaide, George Duncan wasn't just a name, he is a symbol of resistance, and 30 years later a memorial was erected near his place of death. But not everything is bad. Let's go to 2017, the No versus Yes campaign. The Aussie drama that had the whole country deciding if love is love or if they needed a map to find their moral compass. The No campaign was really controversial. Accusations of homophobia, spreading misinformation like confetti, and fear-mongering about the apocalypse if same-sex marriage happened. Seriously, apocalypse? We were just trying to plan a wedding here, not the end of the world. But guess what? Love conquered all. The Yes campaign won with 61% of the vote, and the Australian Parliament legalized same-sex marriage in 2017. Now let's fast forward to the time when the Australian government decided to embrace the whole gender spectrum thing. It's like they finally realized that the world is more than just black and white. And guess what? This isn't just for show. They're the law of the land for all Australian government departments and agencies. If you've got personal records, they better be as diverse as a pride parade, including employee records and any cheeky info about your sex and gender. So you don't need to go under the knife to change that gender marker on your passport. That's right. No need for the surgical theatrics. Birth certificates and citizenship papers? Leave them be. Whip out a statement from a registered medical practitioner or psychologist, just a little note saying you're on the journey of gender fabulousness. What about education, you ask me? Australia is turning its schools into safe spaces for our fabulous LGBTQ plus students. Kids are not only learning about the ABCs, we're talking LGBTQ plus rights and acceptance. Boys with polished nails and kids rocking any costume they please, regardless of their gender. It's all about being inclusive and comprehensive, promoting respect for different sexual orientations and gender identities. Australia has one of the most progressive education programs in the world. Take notes, everyone. That's all for now, folks. If I got any of the facts wrong, hit me up in those comments.